Hey there, welcome back to Infinite Podcast, the show where the dive is deep and the banter never sleeps. I'm your host, joined by the king of quirk, Simon. So today, we're scratching at the surface of our furry friends' impact on us. Simon, did you know studies are showing pets heavily influence our emotions? They're like fluffy therapists without the hefty bill.
Fluffy therapists, huh? That's giving my cat way too much credit. My mood's like a yo-yo when she steals my socks. But I can't deny, striving to be her favorite human does give me life goals. But it also kind of feels like those studies are stating the obvious. Who doesn't chill out with their pet around?
I get you, man, like cat steals socks equals stress. That's basic math. But it goes deeper. It's not just about chilling out. Some research points to pets fulfilling certain roles that people, like some silent agreement in human evolution where we said, hey, let's get animals to do this emotional heavy lifting. Makes you wonder, right? Are we outsourcing our need for companionship to pets instead of, dealing with actual humans?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, having a pet is like easy mode for companionship. No complex needs, no drama, just feed 'em and scratch behind the ears, right? Their love's simple, but deep. And like some studies suggest that this kind of relationship boosts our oxytocin, that cuddle hormone, which mellows us out. So humans might just be, leaning on pets because the return on emotional investment is insanely high compared to dealing with real people problems.
Totally. Pets dole out love without the drama. But that's kind of the catch, ain't it? We might be getting lazy, socially speaking. Like, if you're bypassing human interaction for your pet, you could be missing out on some key personal growth. No pet's gonna call you out on your BS or push you to be better. Life with just easy buttons, it doesn't build much character. Plus, not everyone's a pet person, so we can't forget the value of good old human connection.
Yeah, so there's this thing my grandma used to say, God rest her soul. She had like a million cats, but she was sharp, man. I remember one day she's feeding them all and says to me, Simon, these fur balls are sweet, but they won't teach you how to dance at your prom. All those little old lady words stuck with me. It's like she knew that while her cats were cozy, they couldn't replace the mess and magic of dealing with real people.
That's a gem from Grandma, but she was onto something big. Academically speaking, there are countless studies underscoring the social training we get from, human-to-human interaction. Psychologists argue that complex relationships with people teach us nuanced communication, facial expressions, body language, and empathy. Even uncomfortable convos, they all flex our social muscles. So pull up a chair because here's the rundown. Pets give us that serotonin and oxytocin boost, those feel-good chemicals, right? But they don't provide dynamic social feedback like people do. We learn conflict resolution, deepen emotional intelligence, all of that jazz through dealing with other humans. And research in child development shows that interacting with their peers is crucial for kids to develop proper social skills. In short, while Fluffy can give you a serotonin surge, he ain't gonna help you navigate your next job interview or patch up things after a fight with your partner.
Oh man, so you mean to tell me that Scooter, my goldfish, isn't prepping me for life's biggest moments? No wonder I bombed that interview. I was waiting for Scooter's signal to start talking. And there I was, thinking his bubbles meant, you're nailing it, Simon. Guess I can't ride the fish wisdom to success, huh?
Haha, man. Don't put it all on Scooter. I mean, Fish Wisdom sounds legit as a niche self-help bestseller, but yeah, he ain't your life coach. For what it's worth, those bubbles probably did mean you're killing it in, fish language or something. But here's the scoop. When we rely on our pets to gauge our life choices, we might end up swimming in circles. No shade to Scooter, but like navigating human scenarios requires a bit more complexity than, let's say, choosing which plastic castle to hide behind. Gotta admit, though, feeling that pinch of truth kind of stings, right? Makes you ponder where and how we're seeking out guidance in life.
Yeah, well, I guess it's like this maze we're all stuck in, deciding who or what holds the map. But if you ask me, therapy's expensive and talking to a turtle's free, so good luck telling folks they aren't getting life advice from Mr. Shell. Could be that pets are like that old toy we never give up. makes us feel safe even when life throws curveballs. That pillow fort strength, it's real for some people. It just comes with fur or scales or feathers or whatever. That's the pet attachment thing. We lean on it hard, which is cool. But man, does having a pet make us less able to handle real human stuff? That's one to chew on.
Ha! So what you're saying is turtles are budget therapists now? Man, look, connecting with animals is amazing, but it's true, they can't replace real human interaction. It's all about balance, right? Embrace the comfort your pet brings to the table, but don't let it be a crutch that keeps you from dealing with people. Life's a full contact sport. You got to get in the ring with other humans to really feel it.
I mean, true that. Pets as part of the team, not the whole lineup, seems fair. Leaves me wondering, though, in this wacky world where a cat's video can go viral, what does it really say about us, you know? We're just scraping the surface here. There's more to dig into about why we get so hooked on our animals. What's your take, folks? How do these critters shape our day-to-day and our psyche?
Man, this whole pet talk makes me think about how deep this bond goes. Way back when, like ancient times, pets played some massive roles in history, right? Egyptians weren't just making statues of their cats for kicks, they straight up idolized them. And that's barely scratching the surface. Throughout the ages, from hunting pals to war heroes, animals have been sidekicks in humanity's storyline. Even famed historical moguls had their beloved companions. Makes you wonder if their furry friends whispered any sage advice their way. What do you reckon? Did Cleopatra's asp have more to say than just watch where you step?
Ah, nah, man. I wouldn't put too much stock in animals doling out advice in the ancient world, though. Like, I get it. Egyptians thought cats had that spiritual mojo, but let's be real. Whiskers isn't exactly dishing out pearls of wisdom next to the Sphinx. And that asp, probably not the chatty type, more like a silent partner in crime, if you catch my drift. But sure, pets have tagged along through history's wild ride. They've been loyal, courageous, even heroes in their right during wartime and stuff. But influencers of decisions for the big shots? Doubt it. Take war dogs, okay? Brave? Totally. Inspirational? Heck yeah. But advising generals on battle tactics? Kinda hard to picture old Fido barking out military strategies. Same goes for other critters chillin' with historical hotshots. Having an affinity for animals is rad, but I'd bet their human pals were calling the shots.
Haha, yeah, man, I hear you. The image of Fido barking strategy is out there, but let's not sell our four-legged comrades short. Their influence might be subtle, but still impactful. Even if they're not sketching up battle plans, the companionship and morale boost are huge. It's like they're the unsung heroes who've been through the trenches with us, quite literally in some cases. They're offering this unique brand of loyalty that likely steadied many nervous hands throughout history. And it's not just about their deeds, right? It's also how they made these historical icons feel, giving them comfort or courage when needed. The emotional support angle undoubtedly left imprints on choices those folks made. A quiet nudge rather than a shout, you know? Makes me kind of respect those animal sidekicks all the more.
You've got me picturing a round table of historical leaders with their pets like a secret animal council. Like, what if there's some lost history book out there titled The Art of War, according to Fido? Now that would flip the script on our history lessons.
Man, that's something else. But you know what? It kind of reminds me of this one time. So I got this little sleepy town in my family history. Not much to write home about. But there's a story about my great-great-grandpappy and his sheepdog, Benny. So the deal was, Benny was more than just a pet. He was part of the town's identity. And whenever there was a decision to be made or trouble brewing, folks would somehow find their answers while watching Benny herd the sheep. Kind of spiritual guidance without words, you know? Anyway, there was this big land dispute, and it was tearing neighbors apart. Tensions high, talks going nowhere. Then one day, they're all out there, and Benny starts his herding magic, just doing his thing, right? Somehow that pooch brought some sense into the folks. Like seeing him work effortlessly as part of the land, it put stuff into perspective. They ended up sharing the disputed land, keeping peace. So sometimes I guess an animal's simple actions hit deeper than any speech. Makes me wonder about those cats with the pharaohs or war dogs saving lives. Maybe there's wisdom in just being witness to their authenticity, which unspokenly sways decisions. Benny sure did, in his own doggo way.
Man, if Benny the sheepdog's got that kind of influence, I'm thinking we might have missed out on some secret animal masterminds in history. Who knows what sort of four-legged wisdom has been shaping our past behind the scenes?
Yeah, diving deeper into that, it's not just about what these animals did, which is already pretty cool. It's about what they represented. Like throughout history, pets kind of mirrored the best parts of us. They showed loyalty, bravery, unconditional love, and those traits, they transcend time, language, culture, everything. Plus, their presence had this knack for grounding people, especially leaders who were often surrounded by yes men and power plays. A pet's going to keep it real with you. No agendas, just is authenticity. So looking back at, say, Alexander the Great's horse, Bucephalus, or Queen Elizabeth II with her corgis, there's this thread of companionship that speaks volumes. These animals provided a sense of continuity and trust in a landscape that was, let's be honest, hella unpredictable. In fact, in some cases, animal companions were so critical to an owner's persona, take Genghis Khan's horses, that they practically became legends themselves. All that woven together paints a heck of a picture, where animals aren't just pets, but partners in the human journey, silent influencers etching their mark on key moments just by being their authentic selves. And that, man, is quite the legacy to leave behind.
I mean, think about it. Without Bucephalus, does Alexander the Great still hit legend status? Maybe it's not all about the conqueror, but the horse that carries him into battle. Makes you consider who's really running the show sometimes.
Yeah, the story of Alexander and Bucephalus, it's a classic. Reminds me of this time when I was on this trail ride out west. Gorgeous scenery, all that jazz. I got paired with this horse, Old Red, they called him. Now, Old Red wasn't the biggest or the youngest horse, but man, there was something about him. We hit this tricky part of the trail, narrow paths, steep drops. I'll be honest, I was kind of tense. But this horse, he just took charge, steady pace, sure-footed, totally in his element. And that day, I learned something invaluable about trust. Like not just in horses, but in allowing others to lead when they've got strengths you lack. Back to Alexander, huh? His strength came from knowing his horse could handle the battlefield so he could focus on the fight. Kinda symbiotic, each playing to their strengths, trusting one another implicitly. Just riveting how these partnerships echo through history. It's like a testament to trust, a bond that can make or break kings, literally. And even today in our own lives, we find those parallels, don't we? A bond with an animal bringing out something in us we didn't quite know was there.
It's wild to think my trust in a horse taught me more about courage and trust than any self-help book ever could. Makes me wish Old Red could co-host the show. Imagine the tales he'd tell.
Speaking of trail legends like Old Red, pets, they're pretty unpredictable, right? That actually takes me to something a bit more lighthearted. We've all seen, or heck, even lived through some hilarious pet misadventures, like those viral videos where cats decide gravity ain't a thing, or dogs that spectacularly fail at catching anything thrown their way. And it's not just real life. TV and movies are loaded with comedy gold around furry fails. The unexpected outcomes, they're often the best part. It's like one moment Fido is aiming for the frisbee, the next he's taken out the garden gnome, and you're left wondering how a simple game turned into a backyard demolition derby. Actually, got one from my own highlight reel. My buddy's dog once ate an entire cheesecake, just inhaled it when no one was looking. Poor pup looked like a balloon, but the thing was, he developed this temporary aversion to human food. Figured it's not his jam after all. Went straight back to kibble without touching our plates ever again. Talk about learning the hard way, huh? So Simon, any memorable gaffes from the critters round your place?
Oh man. So, my neighbor's cat, right? This kitty, I swear, thinks she's some kind of ninja. One day, she climbs up this massive tree, obviously can't get down. Classic cat move. Fire department comes, neighborhood spectacle ensues. They finally get her down, and you'd think that would be it, huh? But nope, the very next day, Mrs. Whiskers is up another tree, like a replay, but adding insult to injury. It's as if she's challenging the fire crew to a rematch. Somebody ought to make a TV show out of her antics, really. The ultimate cliffhanger every episode. Just bonkers.
Ah, the Ninja Kitty. That's gold. Kind of reminds me of a story about my sister's parrot, Copernicus. Weird name, right? This bird had a vendetta against technology. Like anytime someone was on their phone, Copernicus would squawk like there's no tomorrow. So one day my sister's working from home, big conference call, CEO and everybody on the line, and she thinks Copernicus is in his cage napping or something. Midway through her presentation, this parrot goes full Tarzan swing across the room, lands on the desk, and launches into a tirade against her speakerphone. Chaos, right? But here's the twist. Turns out her team had been trying to lighten up. They were so tense all the time, or like a good minute of laughing, they finally start sharing their own pet disaster stories. Suddenly, everyone's bonding, and morale saw a major spike after. Copernicus, without even trying, became the squawking mascot for work-life balance. So you see, sometimes those misadventures, they turn into these wildly good, unintentional outcomes. Who'd have thunk, huh?
Well, if a parrot's speech can unknowingly fix office morale, who needs team-building retreats? Just get everyone a chatty bird and call it a day. Am I right?
Yeah, that's hilarious. Imagine every office with a pet parrot squawking away. Productivity might take a hit, but morale? Through the roof. But honestly, you've got a point. Sometimes the best team building isn't some fancy retreat. It's those unexpected moments of shared humanity, or I guess in this case, shared animal hilarity. It gets even better when pets do something that just cracks everyone up. Pets have this knack for cutting through the noise and bringing out the laughter we all need. I heard about these coworkers who started sharing daily pet bloopers over their intranet. It became this epic saga where every day there's a new misadventure. Like one day, there's a dog that somehow managed to lock himself in the bathroom, or a cat caught stealing a neighbor's Wi-Fi antenna. True detectives of mischief. It ain't just about messing up either. It's the joy that follows, the stories that get passed around and make every mishap kind of worth it. And not to mention, it gives us an endless supply of meme-worthy content, right? So yeah, let the birds squawk, the cats climb, bring on the fiascos. They're the real MVPs of downtime.
Especially if you're the one with the lock-picking dog. Suddenly, you're not just Joe from accounting. You're the guy with Houdini in a fur coat. Who needs locks when you've got laughs?
Absolutely. Joe from accounting with his lock-picking pooch. He's definitely got the water cooler advantage now. It's all fun and games until little Houdini decides to chew through something important, though. And speaking of responsible pet ownership, that gets me thinking. Today's world has this whole new idea of what it means to be a pet parent. We've gone from just having a family pet to pets being central members of the family. It's not just about naming them or feeding them anymore. It's a full-on balancing act between love and responsibility. And when you go down the adoption route, you've got this journey, choosing the right furry friend, ensuring they're a good fit for your lifestyle. Plus, pets nowadays have this role in teaching kids empathy, responsibility, even how to cope with emotional ups and downs. Not to mention the pure joy they bring into a household. But it ain't all snuggles and wagging tails. There's some heavy lifting involved, like regular vet visits, training, those unexpected messes. So I'd say while integrating pets into our families has its challenges, there's a ton of rewards too, like shaping a more caring, loving environment at home for everyone involved. What do you think, Simon? Becoming a pet parent, a leap worth taking?
Oh, for sure. Becoming a pet parent's a big leap. It's like jumping into cold water. Shocks the system at first, but then there's this whole refreshing side to it. You've got to weigh up that tightrope of love and duty. And let's not sugarcoat it. Sometimes it's more like a circus act. The adoption process alone can be as tough as a maze. You've got forms out the wazoo and those meet and greets with pets, making sure the vibes are right. Plus, navigating all those dietary needs and exercise routines. It's like meal prepping for a tiny furry athlete. But here's the kicker. While some folks see pets as, just an addition, others get sucked into treating them like mini humans, dressing them up and even pushing them in strollers. Are we overdoing it? Maybe. I'm all for loving your pets, but I've seen dogs with better skincare routines than me. Gotta find that balance, so our kids aren't growing up thinking every dog gets spa days. Pets should teach us about life's rough edges too, not just the pampered paws. So yeah, pet parenting, it's rewarding, but someone's gotta keep it real amid the cutesy chaos. What's next? Pet 401ks.
Ha, pet 401ks. Just wait, Simon. Next thing you know, we'll be seeing dogs running their own social media empires. Just picture it. Pause and reflect. A lifestyle brand by and for the elite canine.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? Pups influencing the masses, flexing their collars and podicures. I mean, they're practically halfway there with all those pet profiles online. Only a matter of time before they start selling us doggy treadmills or cat yoga mats.
Yeah, pet profiles. They're like their own little universe. But these influencers, four-legged or otherwise, they gotta strike the right chord. Actually, reminds me of my neighbor's experience. A story that plays out over on Maple Street. She adopted this scrappy little terrier named Benny. Benny was a firecracker, full of energy, always on the go. My neighbor, she's all about fitness, so it seemed like a match made in heaven. First up, she introduces Benny to every dog accessory you can imagine. Booties, bandanas, you name it. But here's the thing, she also took the responsibility part seriously. Made sure Benny had playtime, but also discipline and boundaries. Wasn't just dressing him up for cute pics or chasing likes. Benny, he thrived on the structure, became less destructive, more sociable. And my neighbor discovered something valuable in the process. It's not just about spoiling your pets. It's about shaping them into well-rounded creatures, family members who respect the pack rules. Their daily routine, it became this neighborhood sensation. Folks would join them on walks, turning into a mini fitness troupe. Kids learned from Benny too, how to care for someone else and manage their own little responsibilities. So yeah, pet parenting, it's got layers. Love and duty, they intertwine, creating bonds that are like sturdier than any Insta fame, something real. Sorta makes you think twice about what we're teaching pets, and maybe what they're teaching us, huh?
All right, folks just tuning in. You're catching us in the middle of a chat about the highs and lows of modern-day pet parenting. So we've been talking about how having a furry friend is more than just snuggles on the couch. It's a full-blown balancing act. We talked about the adoption process, which can be kind of like navigating a maze, but totally worth it, and how pets are turning into real members of the family. They're not just teaching kids about responsibility, but they're also bringing in heaps of love, laughter, and a touch of chaos to every household. And then, there's the unexpected perk of pets creating connections, turning neighborhoods into tight-knit communities, all thanks to daily walks or shared stories of furred escapades. It's wild how much our four-legged friends actually play a role in our lives. It ain't always easy keeping up with their needs, sure, but the reward? Huge. Big ol' heap of unconditional love, companionship, and yeah, some killer life lessons along the way. We've definitely concluded that pups can do more than fetch. They can fetch us better lifestyles too. Wouldn't you agree, Simon?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Simon, think about this. With the number of pets out there teaching us humans about life, maybe there should be some sort of pet university. I'm telling you, some of those critters would graduate summa cum laude in human etiquette.
Ha! Pet University, can you imagine? Furry freshmen, tail-wagging graduates. The commencement speeches would be a series of barks and meows. Now that's a diploma I'd hang on the wall.
Absolutely. Pet university. Just picture the yearbook photos. But on a more serious note, pets do teach us a ton. Like they've got this uncanny ability to mirror our habits and emotions, right? It's why that balancing act of responsibility and love is so crucial. When we show love through care and discipline, it reflects back in their behavior. A well-cared-for pet can be like the ultimate stress reliever, makes coming home after a tough day just a little bit better. They ground us, remind us to live in the moment, like taking joy in the small stuff. And yeah, there's a practical side too. juggling work, life, and pet needs. It's no joke, especially with the world speeding up, the demand for our time. It's nuts. You got to make pet care part of your routine so it becomes second nature, not another chore. It's like pet parenting isn't just about keeping them fed and healthy, it's also understanding their emotional well being, ensuring they feel safe and part of the pack or family. Whatever analogy works, huh? So, yeah, it's kind of a big deal, a commitment that lasts their entire furry lives. But man, the payoff, love that's pretty boundless. And I'd say that's uber important, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely, Joe. Navigating the whole pet parenting thing is like dancing a beautiful kind of clumsy waltz. It's all about rhythm, right? Finding that balance between responsibility and love. The payoff? A house full of laughter, loyalty, and furry cuddles. But hey, it leaves us wondering, what other unexpected ways do our pets shape our lives? There's always another layer to peel back on that one.
Oh, yeah, Simon, the impact pets have on our lives goes way beyond the laughs and the daily walks. Take therapy animals, for example. It's remarkable how they waltz right into someone's life, bringing comfort when it's needed most, especially in settings like children's hospitals. The idea of therapy animals isn't exactly new, but it's definitely gotten more spotlight recently, and for good reason. Dogs are probably what most folks think about first, with their warm presence and boundless empathy. But it ain't just dogs. There's this whole spectrum, from miniature horses to, believe it or not, dolphins. There's something magical that can happen when these therapy animals interact with kids who are facing tough times. Like this one story I heard about, a golden retriever named Bailey, who became a little girl's beacon of hope during her chemotherapy treatments. Every time Bailey walked into the room, even if just for a few minutes, the kid's entire mood shifted. It's amazing, really. These encounters, they have tangible effects. The kids light up, their vitals can improve, stress levels drop, doctors see it, nurses see it. And it's not only emotional support. Some of these animals assist in physical rehab too, encouraging children to keep moving, keep pushing forward. Therapy animals, they bring this unique energy. We're talking pure, non-judgmental love and comfort. In places where there's a lot of fear and uncertainty, like a hospital, that's invaluable. Just a total game changer in pediatric care. What's your take on this, Simon? Ever run into any of these four-legged heroes?
You ever seen a kid's face light up around these fur balls? It's like someone flipped a switch. Doubt to joy, just like that. Magic.
For sure, it's like they've got a superpower. No capes needed. These therapy animals unearth smiles buried under worry like little joy miners. It's downright heartwarming.
Yeah, they're like four-legged superheroes. But, gotta play devil's advocate here for a sec. I mean, how does it all work? You bring an animal into a super clean hospital. Seems kind of messy, right? And sure, we got plenty of heartwarming stories. Those always make the rounds. But what about the nitty-gritty? Like, are all animals cut out for this? It's not just any pet goes. These therapy animals, they go through serious training to handle these sensitive environments. And then you've got logistics. Not everyone's a pet lover, hard to believe I know, or some kiddos might be allergic. And let's not even start on the responsibility hospitals have. These animals need care too while they're doing their jobs. But I get it, when it works wonders. Like there was this kid, nonverbal, hadn't smiled in weeks. They bring in this tiny horse. Yeah, you heard me, a mini horse. Kid cracks a smile like sunshine after a storm. Tough to argue with results like that. Sure, they've got challenges, but therapy animals definitely earn their keep. So yeah, bringing comfort to sick kids, big thumbs up from me. But let's also remember to appreciate those who keep the gears turning smoothly behind the scenes. The handlers, trainers, the unsung heroes, making sure these joy miners hit gold every visit.
Oh, without a doubt, the handlers and trainers deserve a round of applause. But let's really dive into this. Therapy animal programs need structure. So it's not just about that heartwarming moment, but sustained, positive impact, right? Like, sure, we've got the cleaning up concerns. I mean, an accident in an aisle at PetSmart is one thing, but in a sterile hospital, that's high stakes. They've got to have protocols ironed out to keep health risks at bay. And these animals, they get screened meticulously for behavior, health, Even their temperament's got to be top-notch. It's no walk in the park. There's a rigorous certification process behind it. No ordinary pet makes the cut, only the best. And that's on top of continuous training and evaluation to make sure they're always up for the job. So yeah, you've got challenges, the kids with allergies or fears, creating safe, controlled interactions. It's like a chess game, thinking 5 moves ahead to avoid any hiccups in such a sensitive environment. But man, when it clicks, it's more than just that initial smile. It can be, like, transformative. Kids battling anxiety, facing tough treatments, suddenly there's this breakthrough. Like a dog's calm presence at the bedside making physical therapy less intimidating, or a cat purring away nightmares. And think bigger, the impact this has on hospital staff morale. Everyone benefits from a whiskered wingman now and then, reminds folks why they're doing what they do. These critters, they're like glue, binding all aspects of care with positive energy. So complex? Yeah. Messy? Sometimes. But are therapy animals in children's hospitals worth their weight in gold? I'd bet my next paycheck on it. What about you, Simon?
Well, therapy animals are doing something right when the grumpiest doc cracks a smile. Makes me think we should get an office hamster or something. Lower the blood pressure around here.
Simon, studies show that just 12 minutes with a therapy animal can lower the stress hormone in kids. It's like nature's chill pill. No prescription needed.
It's wild when you think about it. Just 12 minutes. So, what kind of changes are we talking about here? Are these kids, like, genuinely getting better faster, or is it more about feeling calmer during treatments?
Great question, Simon. So there's this time, right? I remember volunteering at a children's ward. There was this one kid, every treatment day was a struggle, lots of tears, the whole deal. Then they started this therapy dog program. This golden retriever wanders in and, like, the atmosphere changes. There's this calm that settles over the room, and over time this kid's outlook shifts. Treatments become less of a battle, as if the stress just poof, vanishes when that dog's around. It wasn't just a mood boost, it seemed to physically ease the process. Like the staff noticed fewer requests for pain meds during sessions when the dog was present. It's not magic, it's psychology and physiology intersecting in real time. This is stuff backed by science, Reduced stress hormones mean lower blood pressure, slower heart rate, just an overall better environment for healing. And that calm, it's contagious. Parents are more relaxed, doctors and nurses feel it too. So while I can't say with 100% certainty every kid's recovery speeds up, the change in their quality of life, that's tangible, man, and sometimes that's half the battle.
Whoa, like seriously. That's, that's amazing. So you're telling me this kid sees a furry friend, and it's not just their day getting better, but the actual treatments too? Man, I'd love to see the look on those lab coat folks when they realize it's Mr. Fluffles driving down med requests. Makes you wonder, what else don't we know about these animal buddies of ours, right?
Heh, yeah, Mr. Fluffle's the secret weapon. But let me toss some facts at you. These therapy animal programs are no fluke. There's this theory called biophilia. It suggests humans have an innate connection to nature, which includes animals. It's why pets can captivate our attention and disarm us, bringing down those walls we build up. And there's solid research backing the benefits of animal-assisted therapy. Like, multiple peer-reviewed studies confirm what we're seeing, anecdotes becoming data. For example, pain management. One study showed kids in therapy with dogs needed significantly less pain medication. It goes further. Animals in therapy can help with socialization skills, especially important for kids on the autism spectrum. They practice interacting with the animals, which sometimes makes human interactions a bit easier too. So it ain't just about cheering up sick kids. These critters help patients tackle physical and psychological challenges, from cognitive functioning improvements to easing symptoms of depression and anxiety. Last thing, these interactions promote oxytocin release, the cuddle hormone. That stuff's like a biological warm hug, leading to feelings of bonding and trust, prime conditions for healing. So as funny as it sounds, Mr. Fluffles isn't just there for giggles. He's part of a well-researched approach to care that spills over, benefiting patient families and hospital staff creating a better environment for everyone. And that, I think we can agree, is pretty rad science.
But here's a kicker. Pets in hospitals might face burnout too, just like their human counterparts. Imagine that. Fido needs a spa day after all his hard work.
Heh, right? I mean, we can't have Fido clocking out and hitting the beach every weekend. But seriously, it's something to chew on. These animals do tire out, and they're not punching time cards. It makes you think we're talking about animal welfare now, not just human benefits. And look, caring for our furry coworkers is key. They're providing a service, yet they got needs too. Spa day jokes aside, managing their stress is serious biz. It gets complicated, though. How do you create an equilibrium? Got to consider things like shorter shifts or having a rotating roster of therapy animals to prevent overwork. And then there's consistent monitoring, looking for signs of stress or anxiety in the animals. It's this whole other layer. And let's be real, we're imposing human-centric roles onto these critters. They ain't choosing this career path, we're assigning it. That calls for responsible management and ethical treatment. Some folks argue that as much as therapy animals help kids, the real focus should be on making sure we're not exploiting them. Because at the end of the day, the well-being of two-legged and four-legged individuals has got to be the priority. So, hey Simon, do you think our growing reliance on therapy animals could be creating more issues than we're solving, or is it all part of the territory?
Yeah, imagine therapy animals unionizing for better work conditions. More treats, less tricks. Can you picture it?
Heh, no kidding. Brings to mind this time, right? My aunt, she had this terrier, Ziggy. Smart as a whip, always eager to please kind of dog. Starts visiting nursing homes, and he's a hit. You can see the effect he has. Faces light up, the whole mood lifts whenever he rolls in. So like one day after a few months of these visits, I tag along, and I notice something different about Ziggy. Instead of pulling on the leash, ready to dash for the door, he's dragging behind, ears kind of drooping. Wasn't his usual peppy self. Aunt picks up on it too. She's like, maybe Zig needs a break. Was sorta an aha moment. That got me thinking about therapy animals. Like we're tuned into the human side of care, but sometimes we might overlook that even a perky companion like Ziggy's got limits. Keeping their well-being dialed in is just as crucial as the service they provide. Because let's face it, no matter how resilient or trained they are, taking on everyone's emotions, that's heavy, even for humans. So yeah, back to our Mr. Fluffles at the hospital. It sounds funny to say animal burnout, but it's real talk. Can't expect them to carry all that load without proper downtime. They gotta recharge, chase some squirrels, do dog yoga, or whatever floats their boat. It's about balance, That way, everybody wins.
You think therapy animals get their own version of performance reviews? Baxter was a bit standoffish today. Might need to work on his bedside manner.
Ha, performance reviews for pups. That's funny, but it's got me picturing something a bit lighter, like those unexpected teaching moments therapy animals have with kids. It's not all serious biz. There's this accidental classroom happening around these critters. I heard about a dog named Chester who became an unofficial tutor in a children's ward. Kids would read to Chester as part of their therapy, and if anyone stumbled on words, he'd kind of nudge them, like he was saying, "Take your time, I'm here." Or that time a cat, believe it or not, taught a kid about gravity. Kid's playing with one of those feather wands, right? And the cat leaps like crazy trying to catch it, knocking stuff over. Next thing you know, they're having an impromptu physics lesson on force and motion. And therapists, they're onto something. They're sneaking in lessons on empathy by getting kids to care for the animal's needs. It's like stealth teaching, while the kids think they're just playing. So the learning goes beyond stay, sit, turning into real-world skills molded by paws and snouts. What's your take, Simon? Got any quirky tales where animals turned into four-legged profs? Or maybe our listening crew has some fun facts about animal antics in hospitals.
Now that's a good story, but I'm not totally sold. Reading with Chester is cute and all, but come on, does it really help? Or is it just like another awe moment for the Instagram feed? And about the cat teaching physics, sounds to me like Mr. Whiskers needs a lesson in staying off counters himself, am I right? I mean, yeah, sure, Animals can teach responsibility or empathy, maybe even by accident. But I've seen kids turn hide and seek into lessons on why you shouldn't flush stuff down the toilet when their pet hamster goes missing. Doesn't make it a legit curriculum. So, okay, I'll throw a bone here. Animals do bring something special, kind of unspoken to the table, or hospital bed. But are they really tail-wagging tutors? I think the jury's still out on that one. Listeners, what do y'all think? Ever see a therapy animal actually seem like they're schooling someone? Share your wild stories. Maybe you'll convince me otherwise, huh?
All right, so maybe not all furballs are Einstein, but you can't ignore the accidental genius in those unscripted moments. Who knows? Maybe some kid becomes a vet because a therapy dog taught them patience. Life's best lessons are often unplanned, right?
Maybe the best tutor is the one who doesn't even realize it's teaching. The next Nobel Prize in Physics, sponsored by a cat and a feather wand.
Yeah, that's oddly profound, right? There's something to be said for those unintentional mentors, even if they've got whiskers and a tail. Makes you think what spontaneous lessons we pick up from just being around each other. So Simon, you reckon it's the casualness of it all that makes the difference? Like kids not realizing they're in class while Mr. Whiskers causally bats at a physics demonstration?
Yeah, gotta say I'm on board with that, Joe. It's like, the chill vibe lets the learning sneak in under the radar. You think it's the sort of casual magic that makes these moments stick with kids?
Well, Simon, I'm not convinced it's magic. It's the authenticity. Kids are sharp, they sniff out insincerity like a bloodhound. When learning feels real, not forced, that's when it sticks. The casual vibe, it's key. Yeah, but because it's genuine, not because it's, magical or whatever. This doggo doesn't know it's dropping wisdom, it's just being a dog. And kids resonate with that because it's sincere. It ain't about trying to be sneaky with the learning. It's about engaging on a level that feels natural. And seriously, if we're talking impact here, an animal's simple action might spark curiosity, wonder, those why and how questions that lead kids down learning paths filled with genuine intrigue. So sure, call it under the radar learning, but it's really about fostering a space where curiosity can thrive unscripted. Now that's special. And heck, maybe even a little bit of that casual magic.
Right. So, building on that, a key part is the environment these animals create. It's like this safe learning space, Because there's no pressure when a kid is just chilling with a dog or cat. They're more likely to let their guard down, ask questions, get curious, and that's huge for learning. So, while the animals aren't setting out to teach, they're sparking these moments that could light up a kid's imagination or give them confidence. Something as simple as a dog reacting to its name can lead to a convo about identity, recognition, stuff like that. And it's crucial too, because like in a hospital, kids' routine is all sorts of messed up, schooling's on hold sometimes. But here comes Mr. Fluffles, wagging in some normalcy and spontaneity to their day. Makes me think maybe every classroom could use a bit of that genuine, unscripted vibe. Keeps the learning alive, engages in a way textbooks just don't.
Yeah, Simon, that's spot on. The dog doesn't need a lesson plan to make an impact. It's all about that natural interaction leading to organic curiosity and learning. So do we have any listeners out there with similar stories or thoughts on how our four-legged friends add to the mix in these environments? And hey, maybe one of them has seen their pet spark a real light bulb moment for someone, a kid, adult, anyone. What'd you witness? How'd it unfold? If a therapy animal can turn a hospital room into an accidental classroom, what else can they do outside those walls? Let's chew on that for a bit.
All right, now let's switch gears. Ever think about how those hospital room visits from Dr. Doggo could change a kid's whole outlook on life? Like, does snuggling with Fido today mean they grow up to be more empathetic or caring?
Yeah. Think of it like planting seeds. Early connections with animals could grow into deeper compassion, maybe even shape how they view and interact with the world as they get older.
Yeah, reminds me of this kid I knew way back when. Kevin was his name. He had a rough start, health-wise, spent a lot of time in and out of hospitals. There was this one therapy dog, Marbles, total fluffball who would visit him pretty often. And you know what's funny? Now that he's all grown up, the dude is the most chill, compassionate guy you could meet. Always volunteering, always the first to help someone in need. It's like Marbles left a paw print on his soul or something. Makes you think, huh? Maybe that furry friend did more than just keep him company. It kind of nudged his heart into like the right place.
Wow, that hits home. It's like Marbles didn't just share his fluffy presence, but kind of taught him something about the softer side of life without even trying. The way you put it, a paw print on his soul, it's not just poetic, man, it's deep. And it gets me thinking, these kids growing up with genuine care from these four-legged pals could end up painting the world with wider strokes of kindness because of it. It's beyond health. It's like sculpting character, makes you believe in the simple power of connection. And maybe there's something to this idea that a dash of animal compassion can have some serious ripple effects throughout a person's entire life. So this furball influence could be huge, right? What if part of being happy and healthy is just learning to be more open, more compassionate through these early bonds? It's worth pondering for sure.
Man, Marbles the therapy dog's probably up in doggy heaven bragging to all the angel pups. Yeah, I did heart surgery every day, with cuddles and ear wiggles. Scalpel? Nah, man, just give me a good belly rub for the healing to start.
Ha! That's classic. But playing devil's advocate here, sure, belly rubs are great and all, but let's not get too carried away romanticizing it. We've got to remember the hard science behind wellness, right alongside those heartwarming ear wiggles. Is there a tangible thread we can follow from childhood animal encounters to adult well-being? Sure, anecdotes like Kevin's are touching, but they're, just one piece of the puzzle. So listeners, what about you? Any of you think that maybe these experiences with animals have like an actual documented impact on long-term health and wellness? Or is this all good feelings without hard evidence? Let's dig deeper here. Who knows, we might just uncover some real golden bones beneath these stories.
You ever see a therapy dog and think, man, who's therapizing who? Like, we're giving them routines, snacks, reasons to lick their chops while they just gotta show up and be furry. Seems like I've been doing life all wrong, huh? Maybe I should slap on a vest, walk around hospitals wagging my tail for treats. I mean, that's a gig right there.
You've got a point there. It does seem like these therapy dogs have got it pretty sweet, right? But let's peel back a layer here. It's more than just snacks and scritches for them. Animals are amazing at sensing emotions and providing comfort without expecting anything in return, except maybe the occasional belly rub. So when you say who's therapizing who, it's kind of like this circle of care where everyone benefits. The kids get genuine comfort in tough times. Animals get attention and purpose. Heck, we feel good just by watching this pure interaction unfold. And sticking to the topic at hand, those interactions, they can leave lasting imprints on like a child's long-term well-being, shaping their empathy and understanding of mutual support. The dog is working its magic, the kids getting invaluable lessons, and life somewhat gets more bearable for everyone involved. So even if the vest fits, Simon, I'm thinking these furry friends still might have the edge on us in the therapy department.
All right, wrapping this up, it's fascinating to think how Rufus, the retriever, might be grooming the next generation of kind-hearted humans. Maybe it's not in what they do, but just that they are. There's a world where every hospital has a petting zoo wing, right? Chime in, folks. Fluffy friends for wellness. Is it the future or just feel-good fluff?
Speaking of animals influencing compassion and responsibility, let's trot over to a different arena. It's not just in hospitals we're seeing these connections bloom. Prisons are getting in on the action too. Take equine-assisted therapy that some correctional facilities are using. Yeah, horses. They're like these giant mirrors reflecting back our behavior, making inmates face themselves head-on. Heard about this, Simon? It's kind of groundbreaking when you think about boots on the ground, or hooves in this case, for rehabilitation efforts.
For our listeners just tuning in, we're galloping through this super intriguing topic, equine-assisted therapy, or EAT, in prisons. Pretty much, it's where inmates work with horses to learn about themselves and build new skills. These majestic animals, they're acting like massive fuzzy mirrors showing convicts their own emotions. It's wild, right? Right? Like by handling these gentle giants, folks who've taken a wrong turn are finding paths to change. This isn't your run-of-the-mill counseling session. It's real, raw, and sometimes as muddy as a paddock after rain.
Yeah, Simon, that reminds me of a guy I met once while doing some volunteer work. Let's call him Mike. This fellow was tough as nails on the outside, right? But he'd been through this type of therapy and well, he told me about his first time in the ring with this horse, and you could see the change in his eyes when he spoke, like something deep down had shifted. Mike had to lead the horse around, right? But every time he got aggressive or frustrated, the horse just wouldn't budge. It was only when he learned to sort of adjust his approach, calm his demeanor, that the horse responded. And that experience, it stuck with him, became a metaphor for how he wanted to lead his life moving forward. Less force, more patience. You know, what gets me is the undercurrent here. It's not just about teaching a man to be gentle. It's teaching him there's strength in gentleness, vulnerability, in matching your stride with someone or something else's pace. Do our listeners have similar tales? Maybe seen firsthand how these large, perceptive animals can stir up change?
Interesting? Sure. But let's play devil's hoof here. It's easy to get sucked into these feel-good stories, like Mike and his life-changing horse moment. But are we maybe romanticizing it too much? Is learning to simmer down and walk a horse really gonna unravel years of, built-up bad juju? All right, folks, think about this. We're betting on these horses to sort of trot inmates toward inner change. But what's the real track record? Surely it ain't all sunshine and rainbows with hay bales. There must be some that just don't connect with Old Town Nay, right? So where's the line between equine-assisted self-discovery and soft science? Let's not put blinders on just yet. Weigh in with your thoughts.
Well, Simon, not to stir up trouble, but there's also that tricky bit about whether we're setting some of these guys up for a fall. Like, yeah, they get all zen with zenyatta in the pen, then what? Are we doing enough after they're back outside, or is society kind of leaving them out to pasture?
That's a solid hoof to pick, Joe. The therapy doesn't just stop when they leave those gates, right? It's got to morph into real-world application. Otherwise, what's the point? You've got these guys learning trust and empathy with Mr. Ed, only to hit a world that might not give them the same chances to trot out those new skills. Makes you think, we've got to bridge that gap between the stable and the street. Otherwise, ain't we kind of leading the horse to water, but not teaching it to drink, or whatever that saying is, right?
Right? The thing is, bridging that gap is tricky business, because sure, EAT programs have shown some promise with behavioral changes while they're inside. Studies even suggest that inmates working with horses experience reduced aggression, better communication skills, stuff like that. But here's where I get skeptical. Does petting a pony translate to less reoffending? Because at the end of the day, that hard evidence, like lower recidivism rates, that's what really counts. So while it's a feel-good story, we got to ask the tough questions. I'm thinking, don't saddle up just yet. There's more to this than just horsing around, folks.
Equine-assisted therapy in prisons. Man, that's something, ain't it? I mean, if you told me inmates are in there brushing manes and whispering to Mr. Ed to find their chill, I'd have said you were watching too many feel-good flicks. But here we are. And then what about after the slammer? Does playing Black Beauty's BFF keep you on the straight and narrow? Color me skeptical, but teaching a dude to lead a horse to water doesn't exactly scream reformed character, more like just another day at the petting zoo. So yeah, they're calmer inside, but what happens when they leave the barn, huh? Hey listeners, isn't this wild? Chime in with your 2 cents.
Right, I might have come off a bit strong on that last point. So let's trot back a sec for clarity. EAT isn't just about calming down for a daily petting session within the prison walls. It's structured to foster emotional growth, which is key, because we know change doesn't happen overnight. The thing is, this therapy is more about giving these guys a chance to develop skills that are less tangible, like trust, empathy, responsibility, which, yeah, can be harder to measure outside the stall. What I'm getting at is that while they're learning from these horses, there's got to be a solid follow-through post-release. Because without a strong support system once they're out, all those lessons in communication and self-control, well, they might just bolt like a spooked colt. Anyhow, for our dear listeners, ever feel like there's more to this than what meets the eye? Because if we're serious about rehabilitation, it seems like a blend of approaches like equine-assisted therapy, when hitched up right, could help pull things in a better direction. What do you think?
Hey, imagine if parole officers required you to adopt a cat. Like, listen here, fella. If you want to stay out, you better be ready to handle Whisker's midnight zoomies and hairball serenades. Makes me wonder what other animal sidekicks could keep ex-inmates on the straight and narrow.
Ha! That's one way to keep them in line, Simon. But yeah, the more we chew on it, the more I'm thinking it's not about which animal, but the responsibility and relationship skills that come with caring for any creature. Right? Speaking of relationships, I heard some pretty wild stories recently, real heart-tuggers, about how inmates bonding with horses actually help turn their lives around. For instance, there was this one guy, let's call him Dan, who'd been in and out of the system since he was a teen. Nothing seemed to click for him, no program, no pep talk. Then he gets into eat, and boom, it's like the first time he's ever been responsible for another living thing. The horse acts up, and instead of flipping his lid, he's got to figure it out, keep calm, work through it. These stallion stories really dig at something deeper. Can forming connections with horses help set up these guys to better handle relationships once they're out? Is learning to brush down a horse, teaching them the patience to deal with people without blowing a gasket? Sure feels like it could be more than just ponying around, don't you think?
Yeah, so these stallion stories, they sure warm your heart like a fresh mug of cocoa. But let's not put on the blinders just yet. You hear about Dan and you think, wow, that's it, we've cracked the code. But hang on. I've also heard tales where inmates go through the whole eat rigmarole and nothing sticks. They're out, and it's back to old habits faster than you can say, giddy up. So I gotta ask, is brushing a horse really all it takes? What about when old Bessie isn't there to keep you from going off the rails? It's great to pat yourself on the back for building an ark, but if it doesn't float when the flood comes, then what's the point? Not to rain on the parade here, but isn't anyone else wondering if these new skills are pony tricks or the real deal once they hit the pavement back in, normal life? How do you measure the success of empathy and responsibility without an equine mirror around? Maybe we need more than heartwarming tales. We might need some brass tacks, people.
While we saddle up on this, let's not forget the wild card, environment. Out of the stable, temptation lurks in every alley. Does mucking stalls make you immune to that? Doubtful. But if we boost these programs with real-world prep, who knows? The next horse whisperer might just be an ex-con turned life coach.
Whoa, can you believe it? Time's flown faster than a Mustang on the prairie. Thanks to every single ear out there for sticking with us through another wild ride on the Infinite Podcast. Remember, none of this happens without you all tuning in, tossing us your 2 cents, and keeping the conversation galloping along. And hey, don't you go wandering too far. Make sure to come back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern for more shenanigans. We'll have fresh topics to pick apart, laugh about, and maybe even learn a thing or two. Who knows? Until then, take care, stay curious, and as always, just keep being your awesome selves. Catch you later.
Just remember, folks, sometimes a horse might just be an animal, but in the right setting, it could be the key that unlocks a cell door from within. Keep pondering that till next time.